Nice look at the skyline from the ground here in downtown Indianapolis. You can see the blue skies starting to show up even this early. It is 6 o'clock. It's Thursday morning, which I think is the start of the weekend. At least you can start pre-planning for the weekend, start to get your plans lined up. We're glad you're up with us here on 13 Sunrise. I know it's a little early to be talking about the weekend, but looking ahead to a nice forecast.
Beautiful blue sky. At least it's coming across that way on our cameras here, but welcome in. We're glad you're with us. And no rain, we're dry out there, just chilly.
Just chilly. I mean, it's the coldest start of the week.
Yeah.
Some 30s and 40s, but that sky is so blue. It's beautiful.
Focus on that.
Yes,
this
it's great.
morning, yeah.
One reason why it's so blue is that there's not a lot of haze, there's not a lot of humidity out there.
Okay.
I mean, you don't feel any humidity right now. That's going to change starting this weekend.
Oh boy.
The air you can wear.
I always forget when we're asking for warmer temperatures, eventually the humidity comes back.
It has to come back eventually. Yeah, so you're going to feel it. The skies are not great like this. This camera gets a little wonky right at this time of morning because it's trying to filter in a little bit of light. It's not great. It looks great out there here in Indianapolis. I want to show you a couple of temperatures out there this morning. Some 30s and 40s. We're down to 37, one of our coldest spots this morning, Tippecanoe County, which we have so many families in Tippecanoe County today because Purdue's commencement ceremonies start today. It's Division 1, 2, and 3. They divide them in different divisions because there's so many students to get through. Those start today, and they start at 9:30. So some of the early ones will be chilly, but we'll warm up to the 60s later today. It's just 40 in Muncie, same in Tipton. It's 39 now. Good morning in Kokomo. 39 in Newcastle, down to 37 in Richmond. Good morning in Brownsburg. It's 42. We're right at the 40-degree mark in Carmel, Fishers, McCordsville, Pendleton, New Pal, you're included, and Bloomington, now down to 40 degrees. 39 in Freetown and parts of Jackson County. We are running 10 to 20 degrees colder this morning than yesterday morning, and you feel it. And it's not as breezy as yesterday, thank goodness, right? But there's still enough of a light north wind that there's a wind chill. I feel like we're barely above freezing right now here in Indianapolis, and 33 is what it feels like in Richmond. But we're going to head to the 60s today. Beautiful blue sky, lots of sun. Enjoy it. It will feel better because it won't be as breezy. And high pressure will keep skies mainly clear. Ohio will have some of those clouds that we had yesterday. We'll stay mainly clear. But coming up, we're going to talk about our next system with that warm front, which will bring heat, humidity, and rain chances. So we got to talk about the track as well. Let's go ahead and we'll head you to the track that you can get on, 465 and I-70. This is what it looks like here this morning in Wayne County. Traffic's moving fine through the construction. I've been checking construction zones because honestly, we haven't had really any traffic so far this morning. I want to show you what it looks like closer to Indianapolis. This is I-65 coming northbound past Raymond Street. A little slow for a second as you're approaching the south split, and then traffic moves fine after that. I do want to let you know gas prices are down 3 cents this morning.
Thank you, Matt. And we do have breaking news we're following about a house fire that erupted this morning on the east side.
Now, this is about an hour or so, at least, since crews were on the scene. Let's show you a map of where this is at Michigan Street and Euclid Avenue, just east of downtown Indianapolis.
So this was the scene. This is the scene, rather, live right now with firefighters there. Looks like the fire is out, but looks like the top roof is actually kind of missing from this home. This happened around 4:30 this morning.
Yeah, the home was vacant and there were no injuries, but right now Michigan and Euclid Avenue, the traffic there is closed off because of this. So we'll let you know when those streets open back up and when crews finally get this area cleared out for a while. Again, we can tell you that home was vacant. Well, Hamilton Southeastern parents and teachers say they are still worried about staffing cuts, and they want district leaders to keep searching for answers.
So school leaders are now saying that they're rethinking some of their budget strategies after restoring several positions that had already been cut from the budget. Marina Silva is joining us now. Marina, what's the latest total here?
Well, when those reduction in force notices came out last week, it was 18 teachers originally told they were not going to have a job. Well, now the district says they've actually recalled 6 of those positions. Now, the superintendent is blaming it on budget cuts and declining enrollment. He says in the past 3 years, enrollment dropped 4.1%. That's 863 students. The superintendent says these notices were not taken lightly.
We've been working, hoping that attrition would take care of some of the declines that we were seeing in enrollment, but that simply wasn't the case this year, so we needed to issue those notices. Fortunately, as we've continued to receive resignations and retirements since that time, we've been able to notify 6 teachers that they are able to return to HSE.
Those teaching positions, they weren't the only ones cut. According to the district, more than 40 non-teaching positions are also being reduced, but they're not calling them layoffs. Now, according to the superintendent, no more notices will be given out. Now, this meeting was pretty long and it was packed with emotion. The teachers union for HSE says there were other options, so we're looking into why they say this didn't need to happen. That's coming up at 6:30.
All right. Yeah, pretty emotional there, I'm sure, for those teachers.
Well, Indianapolis man will spend 7 years in prison after children found his loaded gun and a 4-year-old girl was shot and killed with it.
13 News was in the courtroom when the judge gave this sentence, and we're learning the man had a pretty lengthy criminal history. 27-year-old Terrell Jackson was first arrested at the age of 11. At 15, he was found responsible for a gang murder. He aged out of the juvenile detention center at 21.
Well, just 2 years later, 4 kids found Jackson's loaded handgun in a dresser at Cumberland Apartments in 2023. A 6-year-old accidentally shot and killed his 4-year-old sister.
It's not something that we can just look at a death and say, let's forget that. We can go on. It's tragic. I'll learn from it. I'm going to be remorseful for the rest of my life. That's all true. There has to be a significant punishment element to that before this will stop.
So in addition to those 7 years that the judge sentenced him to, he also gets 2 years of home detention. Jackson was not at the apartment at the time of the shooting. A great-grandmother was watching those 5 children home.
Well, a major drug bust in Fishers ends with 2 men behind bars.
Yeah, investigators found more than 200 pounds of marijuana, they say, as part of a trafficking operation with drugs being sent back and forth between Michigan and Indiana.
Court documents reveal in March, a detective was monitoring a Snapchat account that was actually advertising weed and THC products. Several of those posts reportedly even showing those products as well as large sums of money.
Well, now 23-year-old Brendan Grubb and 26-year-old Ian Heath are charged with felony dealing and possession. Both Grubb and Heath now have jury trials set for October. Starting next school year, when your student can use their phones at school is changing.
Governor Mike Braun just signing that cell phone ban into law. Bell to bell, or from the start of the school day until the kids get home. I was thinking maybe they could still use it in class passing periods.
They would probably want that too.
They would want that. Anna Chalker has been looking over all of this and joins us with what it means for students, but even staff. Good morning, Anna.
Good morning, ladies. This ban is not just about your phone. There's going to be a lot of items that students will not be allowed to have. That includes something like a smartwatch here, a gaming device, or even a personal tablet. And while this is going to be a statewide ban, the discretion is going to be up to each individual school district. They have 2 options there where they could do a total ban of those devices or have students turn them off and put them away for the day. And like you mentioned, that bell to bell means the start of the day to the end of it. No passing periods. Those phones have to be put away. And under this Senate Enrolled Act 78, if a device needs to be used as part of a class, it needs to come from the school and not be a personal one. Governor Mike Braun says the recent rise in literary scores in elementary schools was a major push for this ban.
We need to protect the progress by making sure students are focusing through the entirety of the school day. The bell-to-bell cell phone restriction supports teachers, helps students build better habits, and keeps classrooms centered on learning.
Now, there are some exceptions to this law. That includes emergencies in a classroom or the school if a student has any medical needs, 504 plans, or IEPs. And when this was first brought up during the legislative session and proposed, many parents spoke up about this, about how this could impact safety inside schools if they've got to get a hold of their kids or vice versa. So coming up, you'll hear a little bit of that reaction and how these lawmakers are saying they're adding to that to make sure that all protections are good in these schools.
Yeah, you want kids to not be distracted. That is a real fear that parents have, so you have to understand both sides. Thank you, Anna.
Indiana foster kids are getting new protections under an executive order signed by Governor Mike Braun. The order requires survivor benefits meant for children in foster care to be protected and not used to cover the cost of their care. Instead, the money will be placed in accounts for the child and released when they leave state custody. Braun also signed onto a national initiative called A Home for Every Child, focused on improving foster care systems and increasing the number of foster homes across the country. State leaders and advocates say the changes are a step toward better outcomes for kids aging out of foster care and building more stable support systems.
.610, the author charged in her husband's death, now sentenced. We'll tell you about the emotional message she read to her children in court.
President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping are set to talk economic plans today. How trade tensions are on the rise as lawmakers urge the president to affirm the U.S.'s support for Taiwan.